Hello everybody, thanks for being there. My name is Christophe Bello, I'm working for Weir Minerals since few months, but I have 10 years of experience in the separation business and filtration and self-refrigeration. So I'm going to talk to you about what Weir is proposing for as a solution for the tailing. Weir Minerals is known for their pumps, Euromine pumps, but we have much more to offer. So tailing, I will not define what is tailing because I think everybody knows, but it has to be as cheap as possible. It can be a dangerous matter for mine. It can be an ecological disaster. This was a picture was from 2015 from a dam failure in Brazil. Quite a few people died and it was a major pollution. And you have some places in Europe where you had pollutions based off this, and 20 years after they are still talking about it. So it can be a very serious problem for a mine if it's not well executed. And what Weir can offer is basically it's a solution from the end of the plant to the tailing to the disposal. We can separate it, we can pump it, and we can transport the slurry. Anything from what is completely with very low solid amount up to a completely dry product. And Weir, what we can offer to customer, we can offer consultancy, engineering ability, and we can also offer a lot of products which are along the line for the flow sheet for the tailing solution. From the pumps, centrifugal pumps, Euromine, positive displacement, geo pumps, hydrocyclones, cavex, valve, isogate, and lining. This is a typical Weir portfolio. But since few months, we have now a new portfolio called ISODry, and ISODry is the range of separation equipments coming from Android's technology, which are thickener, filter press, and centrifuge. So with this complete portfolio of product plus the know-how that we have, we can design and supply a complete tailing solution to a customer. One of the things why we are also, where it's all coming from, it's because we have a technical center in Melbourne, in Australia, who at the beginning was there to design and to do tests on pipe transportation, because when you want to transport slurry with high amount of solids, the pipe transportation is a very difficult topic because it's not predictable as by calculation. You have to do tests. So that's why we did this center, and because we had this center, we end up with having separation equipment before to produce slurry at the right solid content. And then now we have also separation equipment mixing in the center. And in this center in Melbourne, and this center will be further expanded to other locations. One center will be in Europe next year. So we can do pipe transportation and tailing design. That means, and we have pilot equipment to do that. So by having all the pilots and all the flow sheet on pilot, then you can reduce the risk. We can do on-site consultancy, we can do engineering, and we can do optimization of your tailing activities, recovery of water. We are also working on few projects on the tailing as a resource with backfill, or also using tailings for constructions. So we have several applications like that. We are also working on dry pumping. And dry pumping, that means when you have a material which is 80% of dry material, and because we have seen on some thixotropic material, you can pump it and you can transport it, and it's more economical to transport it with a pump or in a pipe than with a conveyor. And for sure, we can do pipeline and pump monitoring. So in the center, we have all the equipment that we are supplying on the large scale as a pilot. So pilot cyclones, pilot centrifuge, pumps, and so on. one of the things that we do when we have a tailing project is really to be with customer, to discuss with this customer, is to define what the customer wants. Where is going to be the tailing location, where is going to be the dewatering house, where it's going to be, how the customer wants to, what the customer wants to do, what his permit, what is the target, what he wants. Particle size, it's a key information that we need to define the best equipment after. On water recovery, if the aim of the project is a water recovery, which kind of quality of water does the customer want? Is it this quality or the dirty one? And as usual, there is no free lunch. So depending on the quality, there is a cost on the machine associated. So this has to be defined on the project. And with those information, we can start to build, we can start to propose a flow sheet. And then from a flow sheet, we confirm it with a pilot test or lab test, and we can do and then at the end we can do, when we have done this, we can do a mass balance, capex, opex, and the cost of ownership to really discuss with the customer and to agree what is the best method of treating the tailing problems. Because as I said at the beginning, tailing has no revenue for the customer, so it has to cost less money, less and less, or the incentive for a customer could be water recovery. So what will be the water recovery that we could have? And one of the points is that I'm not going to show go on details on the flow sheets, but I just want to illustrate what we could do, and we can bring something that is out of the box. Like this is one of the flow sheets that we propose, and we had as a reference in South America, where we basically, there was an existing thickener, and we increased its recovery of the dryness out of the thickener by adding cyclones on a centrifuge. And by having this, we had a much higher thickened slurry out of the thickener without changing the thickener. So it was a less capex for the customer, and he had more water recovery. Another example of what we have plenty of examples in our that we have developed. Another example, I picked that one because in a lot of tailing project, customer wants to have a complete dry stacking, which costing a lot of money, or if you segregate your material before, you could do an easy dry stacking with cyclones before, and then having a much smaller tailing pond out of the thickener. Or we can reduce this part and go place one of the dewatering machines. It's really, everything is open. It's really part of the discussion and part of how are we going to build the solution with the customer. One of the things I'd like to mention and what we can build, and we have this reference, we are also, they are in a lot of tailings. They are on all tailings. They are really good material, and material with ore body in it. So on this example, there was on the tailing deposit was 1% copper on the coarse particles. So what we did, we had cannons to repulp the tailing, and then we pump it to cyclones, and the underflow of the cyclones was going to the concentration plant. So for very little added cost to the customer added, basically it took an old tailing deposit as a resource for the customer. So this could be one of the things, and we have the complete equipment in Weir Minerals to do the complete system as it showed in this slide. Another tailing as a resource is that we could also design, and with our center we can also make the formula a complete backfill system, and so we have the equipment, but on the backfill system, what is really important is a recipe based on the tailing. So this we can define, and we can provide you this information. And last, also because of this isodry adder to Weir, we are also having all the separation equipment you might need for a tailing project, which are thickener, standard thickener, high rate thickener, paste thickener, high density thickener. and decanter, which is a machine that will give you a very good dryness with continuous and with no operator. So the only cost of a decanter will be the energy, the power needed. But we can go up to filter press with when you need very, very high dryness. But filter press is labor intensive, and you will need to change the filter cloth on a regular basis. So this is on this know-how. We have also this know-how, and we have this in the portfolio, and we can also advise you what will be the best separation techniques. So that's basically what I was trying. So as a summary of what Weir can provide if you have a tailing challenge. So we can provide consultancy, we can provide engineering, we can provide definition of the flow sheet because we can do pilot tests, and we can do after that transportation of this tailing if it's a if it's a low amount of solids slurry or very high amount. So we have basically the complete range of equipment and solutions to take your tailing out of your plants and to dispose it to the tailing deposit, no matter it is liquid or dry or paste. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Thank you very much.